as a businessman before joining government, I can't stay without doing business. So the only business I can do right now is agriculture. So I took a farm just about when I was appointed, 250 hectares. But my farm is quite unique in Ogun State because when we spread our herbicide, when we do our fertilization, we use drones. And what it would typically take a normal farm in Nigeria 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to do, we can do in a couple of hours. But the reality is it won't be possible without the small businesses who run the drones as a service business. So these are young people out of Lagos, very young out of university. They're the small businesses that can't get loan anywhere. But this is the sort of business that is the future of our nation. These are the businesses we must prioritize. We must find them. They're the businesses that will bring those new ideas that can help raise the level of productivity across all of our key sectors. So that's just an example. You can see this everywhere. We're doing the same thing in the telecommunications space. As we set out to lay 90,000 kilometers of fiber optic cable, we understand that it's not going to be achievable if we don't bring small businesses in. Yesterday, I had a fantastic meeting with a company that is now looking to do fiber to home. And they're giving themselves a target of making sure 3 million homes over the next 2 years can actually have fiber connectivity, which is the world-class standard that we want everywhere. But they understand something, that they won't be able to achieve that goal if they don't train small businesses that will go out there and actually help do the installation. So I'd like to challenge us that as we gather here today, that we're not just talking about supporting small businesses as if they're orphans and desperate organizations, but that we actually bear in mind that the future of our nation is in the hands of these small businesses. That we see them as the innovators and the platform for innovation that we require to drive the growth that we need in our country. Thank you all so very much for coming. I'll leave it there today. Thank you.
The 5 minutes makes sense. I'm just sure it was added something to the panel?
Yes, obviously.
Okay, so take
but I just want to be sure our 20 minutes starts now.
Yes. So we say you wrap up at 12 noon.
Okay, all right. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, moderator. I bring you greetings from the president of the Afrexim Bank, Professor Benedict Oramba. And I also want to say good morning to Ms. Chizoma Okoli, who was my former boss about 10 years ago. When we look at, so I'll speak from a Pan-African context. When we look at Africa today, the biggest issue that has faced Africa in its ability to be insulated from external vagaries, the external geopolitical tension, is closely linked to the fact that the small businesses, which are the engine room of the African economies, have not stepped up to the level at to which they should play. For example, when we take the Russia-Ukraine crisis, these are two neighbors. 80% of Nigerians do not even know where, before the war, did not know where Ukraine was on the map of the world. They could not be bothered. But a conflict between two neighbors, we have all seen the impact and the disruptions in global supply chains. And all of this is because our MSMEs, our small companies, are not working at the optimal level to insulate the African countries from these external pressures. And as Afrexim Bank, we have, of course, the bank was created in the 80s as an intervention bank to step into this gap and to ensure that financing is made available for African countries, the member states, the corporates, the MSMEs, to help them insulate themselves and close that gap, that financing deficit. We've historically been doing this through the bigger corporates, with our target market or the clientele, where the big corporates, Dangote, Indorama, the big oil and gas companies. But we began to realize that until we come closer and bring financing closer to the MSMEs, our goal, even though today we're the biggest lender, Dangote refinery, but Dangote needs a lot of suppliers, the MSMEs who will provide the chemicals, the spare parts, the technicians, Does he have to fly in a technician from India to come fix the bolt and the nuts? You know, we realize that until we capacitize this sector through financing, credit education, facilitation, even access to information like the Intra-African Trade Fair that we're doing, to bring together parties to understand the capacity that exists on the continent, that our job would not be finished. We started supporting the gentleman from BOI mentioned here. I think of the $7 billion they've raised, we've worked closely with them to at least 3 billion of that we've been, and then the new financing that is ongoing, we've committed 175 million euros to that financing to ensure that BOI, we have the CEO of Nexim here, who is also one of our shareholders, to rule financing through them, done through two Nigerian banks, $85 million from January till date, in promotion of our SME strategy to ensure that we can give liquidity to these banks at very cheap rates, which they can then cascade as line of credit to the MSMEs. We're working closely with the central bank, whom we're doing swaps with. We give them dollars, and they give us naira. The naira, in the past, we would invest this naira in treasury bills, but now we have reached into the CBN, which they have graciously approved at a single digit, so that we can unlock that treasury bills in cash now, and we're working to disburse this single digit loans through some of the Nigerian sovereigns who have given us very credible projects, and also through some SMEs, through some partner banks. Well, essentially, this is what the Afrexim Bank is doing to cure the financing gap. So financing, MSME education, access to information, and also facilitation, power, the geometric power plants that we help to bring on stream. You know, this kind of things have to be in place. The refinery, to ensure that there's fuel, there's energy, cheap source to energy, to ensure that, because it's not about single digits. What is the overall cost of fund for the MSME? How much does he pay for transport? How much does he have to pay for information and telecommunication?
All right, and I'm glad that one of the things you talked about is education, because sometimes these programs and packages are available, but when you look at the reality of the SMEs, don't get, the education doesn't get to them, or the knowledge of it doesn't get to them. So maybe tweak our style a bit because of the time. So Mrs. Osman, I would like for you to build on, you're for innovation, minerals and innovation, on what the Minister of Digital Economy talked about. Let's look at innovation of small businesses and how they can attract funds in Africa. Everybody says, oh, the future of the world is in Africa. Africa has the youngest population, so this is where the skills are, but we don't see it. How do we get them out to be able to attract those single-digit funds?
Thank you. Oh, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the question, and thanks to the minister. Actually, whatever he said is true. And we do have the youngest population, and they are very skilled, and they are very innovative. And there is a lot of innovation that Judge actually brought that come from the African young, educated, skilled innovators. But what happened is actually they do not receive from us, and when I say us, it's the member states, and it's the financing institutions, is that they do not receive actually what they need, and we lose this innovation. And most of the time they are obliged to sell their innovation to other partners out of the continent, and you find this innovation that would have been easily available to African citizens and at low cost. Now we buy it from China, from Europe, from US, because this innovation is lost to the continent. And just to broaden more than the innovation and the innovator, I would like to remind you that the African continent is the richest continent in the world. We are first or second in most of the most important minerals in this continent. We do have the oil and gas, we do have all the source of power and energy in this continent, and also we do have the youngest population, which is actually really important. Like other continents are aging, and this is not supporting. So as African Union Commission, and since the Abuja Treaty and the integration program, we try to support the member states to get the benefit of the resource that we have. Will it be in the minerals, in the agriculture, in the agribusiness, and in the innovation and technology? So we had the boosting intra-Africa trade, which gave us the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. We also delivered on the Africa Industrialization Strategy, which actually give us the Africa SME Strategy, which have 7 pillars: enabling environment, access to market, access to innovative finance. And it was deliberate to say innovative finance, quality infrastructure, intellectual property rights, and inclusivity, in which we have youth, women, displaced population, and in which you will find also the Wi-Fi, the finance and economic inclusion of women and youth that our DCP talked this morning. So it's really important. It's not only the single digit actually, but what we will, with our SMEs face also, it's a very short term loan. And you cannot deliver what the continent need if you have to repay in 12 months or 3 years, whatever you can, because industrialization is the key. Industrialization is the most important. And for you to transform whatever will it be agriculture product, you need to buy technology, you need to buy machinery, and you need to repay this, you need time before you get the result of this. And I am the advocate of the single digit, but I'm also the advocate of a long-term loans.
Obviously, obviously. Thank you so much. And now to the commercial banks who are not friends to small businesses. That's what businesses say. And I'm sure you've heard that many times. But of course, we do understand also that the deposit banks are being regulated. For instance, they have to work within the regulation and the guidelines of the central bank. So we'll ask you, Wema Bank, is it possible, or how can we make the single-digit funding possible? I know you have to do business. You also have to consider the guidelines you have been given to work with. How can we make it possible? Sorry, Access Bank. I'm so sorry about that.
I was going to correct that, actually. Wema Bank, we're friends, but I represent Access Bank here today, so I was just going to correct that. You heard from CBN that
sorry, can you hear her? Is the microphone okay?
Can you hear me?
Okay, all right.
You heard from CBN that single-digit loan likely possible now, but I would like to challenge you, because commercial banks actually don't shy away from SME, at least not Access Bank, right? And I think when we're talking about the reality of what it is today, I think the bigger issue for me is creating the environment where these MSMEs are able to access finance, because that's the first step. Because if they are incapable of even presenting themselves to any bank or lending organization, they can't access finance. So for me, the big issue is capacity building. So we must ensure that we are able to train MSMEs in such a manner that they can present themselves for finance. And when I speak to capacity building, I'll tell you some of the few things that we do in Access Bank. So we organize SME clinics. We actually do train MSMEs on bookkeeping, HR, taxes, the reason why they must incorporate their businesses, so they can at least create the avenue where a lender can begin to even appreciate what they do. And then in terms of, talking about single digits, I think I will tweak it to say creating affordable finance. The thing is that NPR is what it is, as he mentioned, but we don't sit back and say we do nothing. So partnerships become very important, right? Creating the right partnerships that will enable you lend in a manner that it will be affordable for an SME. And when I say that, what am I talking about? We have partnerships, at least for example, in Access Bank, we have partnerships with IFC, FMO, my very good friends, DBN, who is pretending not to be looking. So they all give us finance. And one thing I think I need to mention here is that for every partnership that we have, fortunately, they are all emphasizing on your ability to lend to women. So we have special products created specially for women, where we are lending them at subsidized interest rates, right? And then I think our most recent partnership, and I really like to commend the Office of the Vice President for what they are doing in respect of SMEs, for MSMEs. Because right now we have created, in that partnership, we have created a 50 billion naira fund for MSMEs, where we have agreed with them that we're going to impact 4 million MSMEs in Nigeria over the next 4 years. And that is 1 million every year. And that means that, and we've segmented it, so 300,000 out of those the million per year will be focused on training. So we're going to continue capacity building. We're going to train youths and different sectors of SMEs on what they need to do to get themselves ready for businesses. And then the remaining 700,000 will be giving them finance. So we created a portal in that regard, and we have over 100,000 applications that have come in already. I think that these are one of the things that I believe will strongly support this industry. We have the numbers. We've seen that, we can't overemphasize the fact that it's a critical aspect of the economy and we must pay attention to it.
All right, thank you so much, Access Bank, for your time. And thank you for bringing the capacity building, because obviously it is one of those, if you don't keep your books as a company, as you cannot, access. I'd like to plead with the other members of the panel that will end the session. We have just about less than 5 minutes. So we'll end with BOI and CBN, because this conversation is not supposed to be just come and talk. It's supposed to be a call to action. Real sector. Not take the loan, go and do something else, and come back at the end of the day. What lessons can BOI share with us? Just about a minute, so we can also have CBN. What lessons can BOI share with us on how to avoid abuse? Hopefully, we believe that our hosts will follow up and we will see a program that will give single-digit loan to small businesses. Now, when avoid abuse and the issue of bad debt.
Thank you. Is it done?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Actually, there's no single bullet to that. There's no single silver bullet to answering your question, because we are a society that keeps evolving. Things are changing by the minute. And of course, the success of disbursing and recouping your investment in an assured way depends on knowing the person or the businesses that you're investing in. That's key. It's not just with BOI, it is equally with Central Bank, and I'm sure it's very well with Access Bank. So getting to know the people and trusting them enough to have the confidence to disburse to them. So for any prospective loan applicant, he needs to understand two things. If you don't have solid character, if you don't have understanding of the business that you want to go in, it is difficult for anyone to take a chance with you. So your reputation counts for you. And the best way to build a reputation is, of course, to do exactly what you said you want to do. So if you are approaching me for a loan to invest in maybe renewable energy or sustainable energy, and I come to your business premises and I see holes and cutlasses, I know you're not really ready to do that.
All right. Okay, so we have capacity building from Access Bank. Reputation. I know there are a lot of small businesses here. Reputation is another thing they look at. So CBN, Uncle Bora's program still has a lot of issues, repayments and all of that. But what lessons can we learn from your years of intervention that can be applied to another program to make it more successful?
I think I don't know whether you are because the way you speak about
I'm just a journalist who interacts with these
you
people.
can farm, you can also farm, so it's not just something. Anyway, that's on the lighter mood. So like my colleagues mentioned, the issue relating to capacity building, issue relating to, so I want to add that for commercial banks, because the quantum of funds needed to facilitate finance or to support MSs, like you rightly mentioned, is in billions, and you even mentioned in dollars. So we need to bring the commercial banks on board because they have a bigger war chest to be able to support this. So I think we are looking at maybe creating risk-sharing instruments, de-risking tools that will say, okay, fine, how do we now share these risks with the banks? Incentives for those that borrow and pay, to be able to maybe through interest rebates. So that's why the fiscal authority will now come into play. When you borrow and pay, you'll be incentivized for this good behavior. Maybe to give you a rebate of maybe 40%.